been a while since I've been able to catch up with the head football coach, Nick Hill, for the Salukis. It's now time to catch up with them. We're about, about a month away from you guys getting spring football underway, which is hard to believe that it'll be that time. I know winter workouts, et cetera, full speed ahead. Coach Hill, it's good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you.
How's life going for you right now?
Life's good. Life's good. It's good to get back into the swing of, the off season and getting everybody here. And we're in week 5 right now. I mean, the time goes quick as far as being back in school and winter workouts, and such a vital part of your program of these 8 weeks. And then we'll take a break for spring break, and then we'll start spring ball March 20th. And so, yeah, just excited, rejuvenated as far as just, every team, whatever league you're in, the NFL, and I heard an interview with Tom Brady. What makes it so special, this game, is like once that Super Bowl's over or the FCS National Championship, everybody goes back to the same spot, and it's about laying the foundation. Each team is different, and so especially in these times where there's more change on your roster, so it's really just getting back to the basics, setting that foundation. You can't go too fast, and making sure the details and the culture and all of that is correct, and putting in the work when nobody's watching, right? It's basketball season, and it's but we have a job to do each and every day, and that's working when the lights aren't on, and that's the fun part. And if you don't enjoy that, you're probably not going to be good when the lights do come on. And so that's our job right now is just to be putting in work consistently every day.
For you guys, it's one of those things where you can't take it for granted, Coach, when you have your former players have such great success at the next level. And, of course, alluded to Jeremy Chin. I know there's a lot of other Salukis, too, still having success in the NFL game. But what did it mean to you to see him get to the NFC Championship game, almost on the precipice of getting to the Super Bowl? Would have been the second Saluki ever to play in one, join Brandon Jacobs. But still a great year for him. And, I mean, you know what that life is like when you're in a contract year. That creates so much pressure on individual, and it was just awesome to see Jeremy have the year he did.
Yeah, really just I was texting with him 2 days ago. My text to him was just really I'm like, happy for him, proud of him, number one. Always been proud of him, know what he's made of and how he got there. But now to just see a lot of that hard work, this is his first time playing in the playoffs. Didn't have that opportunity here. 2019, we felt like we kind of got robbed. Yeah. But just to see him get to play postseason football, I know it's been a goal of his for a long time, and it's a perfect example of just continuing to believe and put your head down and work, and to see that success. I mean, heck, he didn't really ever come off the field. I think, and in the NFL, it's about finding the right coaching staff that put you in the right positions and the right team, and I think that he's found that. Obviously, 1-year deal. I think this will pay off for him. Hopefully he gets to go back there, because I know he's enjoyed that, and obviously with a good quarterback, and they can be good for a long time. So hopefully he's found a home. But proud of him. And then, Ryan Neal getting to, having a tough year and then getting called at the end of the season and then getting to play in a playoff game. And then Mike Cole, just Mr. Consistent here. I think Saluki fans need to, realize that, 10 years in the NFL and playing in each and one of those seasons, and then, making an impact. I mean, he played in the playoffs again, and 10-year vet. So having 3 Salukis in the playoffs was really cool. And PJ's doing well. PJ will be back here in a couple weeks. He's going to come stay at the house and be around the guys and stuff. So sign another futures contract with the Bengals. So he'll get another shot to make that team. And, they're all doing well.
Coach, let's kind of now backtrack a little bit with your program. And, dating all the way back to the postseason, there's so many things that obviously transpire throughout. Got to handle the portal, got to handle your roster, got to handle your staff too. So let's talk about just your staff from that standpoint. When a season ends, take just the Saluki Nation and the fans through the process of how you evaluate your staff when you do have to make a change like you did, what goes into that, and then, of course, the decisions that transpire of how do you, whether we should elevate guys, reward them who have been on our staff, or look elsewhere to bring guys in.
Yeah, it's one of the most difficult things, number one, because of the relationships that are involved and trying to do things with integrity. And but yeah, it's difficult. But when you sit in that chair, those are the things that you have to do. And there's a lot of things that go on internally that you're consistently evaluating as the year goes on, and how we're going to move forward. And sometimes you have to make difficult decisions. And so those are probably the longest times for me anyways, as far as like lost sleep and just struggling with those things. And you got to make some tough decisions. Made the decision to make a change at defensive coordinator. I would be remiss to talk. I talked to him yesterday. Is Coach James, phenomenal coach, phenomenal person, and friend. And so I know that he's going to land on his feet. He's got a couple things going right now, trying to help him. Talk to some other coaches yesterday, just trying to where he ends up. And in this profession, usually that happens quite a bit. And so and then you go about evaluating, which direction that you want to go in. So obviously, you interview a ton of people. I mean, I've interviewed a lot of people over this break, and then finding the right guy, the fit, at our level, who can you get to come here with the salaries that you have available, sometimes makes it an issue as well. And so you just evaluate, and you want to make sure you cast a wide net and make sure, but you always have some names in mind. So I was able to interview a few guys. I've been impressed by Coach Perron since he got here. A young coach, made him go through the interview process, interviewed in front of the entire staff, interviewed other defensive coordinators that he was a part of, listening, and just felt like he was the best man for the job from his organizational standpoint, communication. And I think that we're seeing that now, that the guys have been able to work with him. We're not in spring ball yet, but just the continuity, the communication among the staff, and then relaying it to the players. I think that he'll do a phenomenal job. I think Coach Mack as well, as far as taking an elevated role and really having a deep connection with Coach Prawn and them seeing it the same way, and really that front seven of Coach Mack, and then Coach Prawn obviously being the coordinator, but having that consistency, and then Coach Terry at the corners, and then having to hire a new defensive line coach. I think that we hired one, and then he left and went to South Dakota State, and then was lucky to find another really good one in Darius Davis, who's here now, and now we have a full staff that we can actually talk about. Sometimes there's some logistics involved in that. But yeah, excited to have the full staff here and rocking and rolling, getting ready for spring ball.
I know one of the other areas too, of course, Coach Rowland able to move on to Wisconsin, which really happy for him. I know he was a really big part of your staff here, and allows you to elevate a guy in Ryan McVicker to have a little bit more of a role along with you in terms of kind of going into that OC role. How you kind of saw that, why you thought that was the best way to approach it for you and your team.
Yeah, I think with that, obviously, same thing with Coach Rowland, great friend, and anytime you work with somebody for an extended period of time, 5-6 years, and especially on that side of the ball, every coach in this profession, just like anybody listening, you're going to make the best decisions for you and your family. And Coach Rowland felt like that was the best, obviously getting into Power 4 and the Big Ten and working for someone that he's known for a really long time. And so, that created some and I think that obviously sometimes change is good. Sometimes change and just a kind of a fresh look at things. And so, obviously the same thing, went through and interviewed some different people. Obviously that's a position that's pretty close to me. Obviously, who's going to be the quarterback coach, the coordinator. I've called plays a lot of my career, but when I've found, and I've been doing it now for a while, this will be year 10, of really settling in, especially at this place. At FCS, you don't have an extended staff and a lot of quality control people or analysts and all of these things. And so I think to be the best play caller that you can be, you've got to be entrenched in it deeply. You've got to be the coordinator. Sometimes when there's two guys in there, it's just you kind of bog each other down.
Yeah.
I've found that if I'm going to do it and do it at a high level, I just have to go do it. And so then thinking about that, I've said this all along. If I would, you know, go to the NFL, wherever, I probably would never take another job if Ryan McVicker wasn't with me. I really wouldn't. And so in that interview process, or who's best for this team, um, Ryan deserves it. He's been here with me for 7 years. I think you see this around the NFL now. There's a lot of young coaches that get hired that are like that. Like, where'd that guy come from? Well, that head coach obviously trusts him, wants to elevate him because he doesn't want him to leave. What all the stuff that Ryan does, and now giving him the confidence to like take an elevated role. He'll do a phenomenal job. I think you got to think about, too, the current team that you have. Obviously, we feel like we have a really, really good quarterback room, DJ coming back and Curry and Hunter getting healthy and our young guys and just that continuity. I think it was when I was going back and forth, I was having a conversation with DJ where I let him know, like, you don't have to worry about this next hire, a new OC, new offense. Like, I'm going to be coaching you, and we're going to put this thing and build this thing around you. And, it was him who's like, why aren't you hiring Ryan? And, I can remember, like, well, I'm thinking about, you know what I mean? He's definitely in the conversation, but that conversation right there was just like, that's who it's got to be, like quarterbacks have a great relationship already. It's not a new relationship. They know how much what Ryan does for everybody right now, including the players, and having them ready and everything. And so I thought it was pretty seamless. We work great to get together, which I think is super important. And so I'm excited to be back doing that.
Coach Hill, one of the guys that we caught up to during basketball season was Dan Moeller, who was, of course, a really great player at Illinois State,
Yeah.
and head coach at Illinois State. One of the things he's like, look, the portal has always been around. It's just the transfer rules now obviously make it much easier to jump from one school to another. Look, we could spend probably the next, couple days in terms of interviews and talk about the pros, the cons of the portal. How have you approached those type of conversations with your guys and what you have found most successful? And when you have those postseason meetings, what you try to do to educate them, to help them, because at the end of the day, that's what you're trying to do. You want to make the best decision, not just for Saluki football, but you bring these guys in individually because you really care about them as an individual, want them to make the best decision.
Yeah,
for
there's no
themselves.
doubt. And a lot of those conversations individually directed, I'll always be the one, especially now, that's going to try to advise them like I would if I was there. Like, sometimes there's a lot of value while I'm trying to say, I think this is the best place for you to stay, continue to develop, and play your best ball right here. As far as like what's your goals, what's your short-term goals, what's your long-term goals. The portal is going to happen. Obviously, we've had several players that have moved on to good situations, and then we'll find out, what is that you're looking for. Keontae's, going and, significant amount of money to go to Oklahoma. And, those are things where the conversation's like, you need to go, like I'm not going to be the one here and paint this picture for you, because then, like I tell everyone, we're around each other much more off the field than we are on the field. I'm not going to be try to sell you on something that, we all need to get in here, parents included, and make the best decision. And, that ultimately my ultimate goal is to make Southern Illinois football the best. And then we've got to go find – there's a lot of guys in the portal that see this as the new opportunity and want to be here and see this as a better opportunity or whatever it is. And so it kind of works both ways. We've always added players from the portal. In this day and age, I mean, you look around, no one's immune to it. I don't care if you're Alabama or you're wherever. Good players are going to come and go. It's about creating that continuity like we have now, where everybody's here, and now let's build that thing. I don't get caught up in the you have to recruit your own guys. I think that's just should be a non-negotiable from the beginning. How you treat people and how you lay things out, if you're trying to scramble around and thinking that a portal window is about to open up and let me start, talking to them more or whatever it is. It just this is how you're going to be treated here. We've never had anybody leave that's been like disgruntled or doesn't feel like they've, you know, been treated the right way
Yeah.
here. And so you go to bed feeling good about that. It creates a lot of work. There's, that it just seems like a blur from the time the season's over. Like you talked about hiring a staff, signing all these players. You're still signing high school players. So it's a lot of work. But I think if you just have great high level communication, be honest, and treat people the right way, it's all going to work out.
I really don't want this topic to hijack the conversation. We'll get into your team, but kind of a two-parter here for you, Coach Hill. Is I heard Coach Saban bring up how there, of course, has to be a remodeling of what the schedule looks like. There needs to be, whether you call it one free agency period or whatever the case may be, there needs to be one time where the portal is open, not multiple times, such as right now once your season's over. Of course, during the middle of the playoffs for some FCS teams, of course, during the playoffs at the FBS level as well. One, do you believe that is an area we should go to? And two, in terms of the conversations with your guys, again, those conversations are between you and those individuals. That's not why I'm asking you the context of those. But how much has the roster limits and how that's going to really change the dynamic at the FBS level and trickle down, where maybe in the past there were maybe a few more spots for those guys, now there may not be, and how that needs to be a conversation, because the last thing you want is guys just to sit in the portal and not be anywhere where they were already in a good situation.
Yeah, I think that's a lot to unpack. Like you said, we could talk about it for a long time. I think for me, I think if you got every coach in here, we would all have a lot of similarities in what we think. What I always fall back on, no one is calling me or emailing me and asking me what my opinions are on it. And so I feel like you're wasting your time if you try to figure something out that obviously can't get figured out at the higher ups, right? And
Yeah.
so it's about me. What's the rules? How are we going about the 2025 season? And we've got to attack that. You tell me the rules change. I feel like you start complaining about something. You start complaining about the portal. You start complaining about this or that. We have to change this. There's no rules. There's no anything. It's really just wasting your time trying to figure it out because, yeah, I mean, you hear it all, Nick Saban and all these, they don't have it figured out either. There needs to be some type of continuity. There needs to be somebody in charge. There's not a lot of that right now. There's no rules on tampering. There's no rules on any of this stuff. But that's what the game that we're playing right now. So we have to try to get as good as we can in that, and whatever that is. And so, I think the academic calendar and the schedule creates some problems. I don't think any student athlete should be put in that position. There's no other league in the world that free agency happens. It'd be like free agency hitting, during the NFL playoffs. It'd be like Jeremy Chinney's on a one-year deal. You're going in the NFC Championship game, and it's like, well, you can go sign with the Dolphins. You can't do that. Free agency period is after the season. Concentrate on the season. You can worry about that with your agent and everything. Postseason, there's a set time for this that's in the off season. Now you figure it out. Once you're going, now that each team knows that they all work within the same rules. And we're in college football, and you see that with bowl games and everything, guys not playing or whatever. It's the portal, and it's not really the student athlete's fault. It's within the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these games, the portal's open and is going to close, and they're still playing, so they have to get in if they're going to go. And so that's just the higher ups. Not it should be all about the student athletes, and a lot of times that's putting a stress and distraction in their lives that somehow needs to be taken away.
All right, let's get to your team, Coach Hill, and let's start with the quarterback room. I'll be honest, I was really surprised. I know, Grand, you still got spring ball right, and that portal will open again, but for DJ, Hunter, and Jake, for all those guys to come back, and for all those guys to obviously have film to show what they could do this past year at a high level, kind of was thinking just to myself, not that, and trust me, I'm not talking this into existence, but I kind of figured that maybe one of them would go. To have all of them back, to me, that speaks a lot about the culture of this team and this program, doesn't it? Or is that just me just kind of making something out of nothing?
Yeah, well, all of them are tremendous individuals. I think obviously we played 4 quarterbacks last year, so we got a good look at, all of them. You know, I think DJ can be, one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best in the country. I believe that. I've told him that. I think that he has a skill set that's pretty dynamic. I think what makes him the most special is just, and obviously this gets aired and everything, so his teammates see him working. I mean, to this morning we're out there in the snow, we're working out. There has been, I think, if you would ask our team, it's just from the strength staff to the training room to everything. He holds himself at a high level. He leads at a high level. When he played in those 3 games, I think he was an elite player. And he knows that he's got to get better. And that's what I told him, is that I'm going to coach you, hard, hold you accountable. And the best players want to do that. They want that. And that's what you want to see out of it. It's like they want to be coached hard. They want to be the one being, told they're not doing something right. And because that's where you make the most gains. And DJ, accepting that and relishing in that makes him really special. Obviously, Hunter getting hurt, we'll continue to have with all of those guys, right? You saw it with Zach Zabrowski, who went on and won the D2 Player of the Year twice in a row. Like, playing quarterback is what is fun. Nobody wants to be, sit and be the third string guy. One of those guys, when we list the open, somebody's got to be a starter, somebody's got to be second, somebody has to be third, the practice reps. And so I think that's where, like, a lot of communication comes in, and being open and honest. And so you could see that when the spring. Obviously, we have spring football. Hey, this is where we're at. This is the direction we're going. And then I think with, like, Jake Curry, I think the biggest thing with Curry, if he wasn't able to play this season, is we wouldn't have found out, like, what's inside of him as much. Like, it's hard. Like, we found out that kid's got a competitive spirit about him that you just can't see a lot of times in practice, or like he's a credible worker, diligent and all of that. But I mean, when the game is the kid has got a fire about himself. He's got a competitive edge about himself. He has a toughness about himself. And those are things you only get to see whenever you get out there on the field. I think Curry's got a super bright future here. And they all work well together. And then I'm excited about getting E.T. going. He brings a dynamic that nobody's seen yet. He broke his arm, a week into training camp, and has been out now. He's back out there. And then, bringing in the freshman quarterbacks as well. So we'll have a good quarterback room, and I'm excited about it.
No Power 4 offers for Michael Lindauer, trying to get one extra waiver in. I mean, sets the school record, and the phone wasn't ringing too much.
I would say, like, having Mike, his mom gets mad when we call him Mike. It's Michael. And so, but, he's back now on the offensive side of the ball as a GA. Good. And just really enjoy working with Mike, as far as just he's going to be a bright coach too. So it's really, Ryan and Mike and myself in that quarterback room. And it's brought me a lot of joy, honestly. You find yourself sometimes in college coaching, this is just being completely honest, is how you work yourself up in coaching, and then you become the head coach. And sometimes it's a lot of delegating, and it's just being a CEO. And I found myself, wanting missing that a lot. And so you still, as the head coach, have to make sure that you're not getting blinded or just tunnel visioned and see the entire picture in offense and defense, special teams, and doing a great job with that. So it's a lot more, but I know that brings me a lot of joy, being able to get back in the trenches and coaching. And then whenever, like I told him, it's non-negotiable on all positions, but especially when you're in there with, like, a great group of guys. I mean, that's a lot of fun, and it's been fun getting back in there.
Coach Hill, one of the areas, no doubt, last year that was a strength when DJ was in there, the quarterback run game was essential and so big that, again, DJ ends the year as the leading rusher for the group. But that, no doubt, I know it was an area of focus for you guys offensively, to be able to run the ball in other ways. Where do you believe, again, it's early, you got spring ball, and then you'll ultimately get into fall camp. Well, what are areas that you and the staff or Coach Clark with the offensive line room mixed in with that, right? We got to get better at this area. And do you feel here in a very small sample size that you're making steps in that direction to get better?
Well, everything at this time of the year for staffs look good and there's
Yeah,
optimism. It's all
no
on the
doubt.
whiteboard, like it's all on the whiteboard. Like we run this play and they run this, we'll block them up like this, and it's gonna be good, right? And then you get out there and there's moving pieces and you got to. So I feel good about our plan and the vision for this offense on how we're going to do it. Spring ball will give us an opportunity to get out there and teach and see and really put the pieces together on the coaching things, on things that we can hang our hat on. I think that's the biggest thing is like, and last year with playing all the different quarterbacks, the strengths changing is like what was our identity. I felt like when you look back, in the run game, what do we hang our hat on? Who are we? Sometimes it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the other team knows like this is what you're going to see. You got to be able to stop it. But the biggest thing is like what's our identity in the run game, and so having a clear vision for that and a picture of that, I feel good about. We're still working towards that. That's the fun part of this this year and or this time of year. And then spring ball will get us a real opportunity to see it come together and create what we need to then get back into for the off season and the summer to clean up. And then you need to have a real good idea in the summer of like this is who we see ourselves being.
Defensively, it's been great to see Bohannon stop by a couple of basketball practices just to say hello to me. He looks like he's doing really well, getting back into shape and getting into form. The importance of having him back and what you can see with him playing a role in what Coach Brown's defensive philosophy and emphasis will be.
Yeah, I think those guys in that room. Obviously, Bohannon going down in week 2, really playing one game for us last year, and then Bogle having an incredible year and a guy that means so much to the program. Just his energy and tenacity, and that entire linebacker group. I mean, Coach Mack has done an unbelievable job. He coaches them super hard, from the details to no one sliding in there. But when you think across the board as far as, Bohannon and Bogle and Shug and Presto, I think Andrew Bame that came in, we only got to see him play in one game. He's been incredible this offseason, transferred here from Akron. Has a chance to be, and that's the biggest thing too, is like, hey, there's 6 guys probably in here. Miles Walsh is a guy that continues to bust his butt and work. And then we have a couple young guys as well. And so that room is a strength. And then that's our job as coaches. Like we can say all we want of like, this is on paper what we want to look like. It's about getting your best players out on the field, putting them in position to be at their best. And but having the assets of those guys is a strength of our team at the linebacker room.
Coach, I'll get you out of here on this note, and it's been great to catch up with you. I know this is really kind of a broad question, and it can probably go a lot of different perspectives of your team. But when you've had time to digest how last year went, you've been through the winter, December, now here in early February, what's been almost a non-negotiable for you of this has to improve? Like,
Yeah.
This is the one glaring thing that we as a staff have noticed and that you're really hammering in your team. Like, it's a non-negotiable, guys. This is one of our main focuses.
Yeah, number one, like when you reflect back, I talked to our team about this, an hour and a half, 2 hours ago when we were coming off the field. It's snowing, it's wet. They went through a tough workout, and we were 4-8, and if that doesn't make you still sick to your stomach, if that sits okay with you or you forgot about it, like you're at the wrong place. Like it's embarrassing to be able to say that, but you have to live with that. We have to own that. That's who we were. And you can come up with all the excuses, and I know like fans are great and all that, but that doesn't change. Like when they look back and 10 years and look at that, see that's who we were. And so there's a lot of things that have to change. We have to do better. And so I think number one, you have to take a deep dive into all of it. I think that we we have to have a level of if you thought you were committed, it's got to be even a deeper commitment, of really challenging yourself to do the tough things, right? We have to be able to strain. I think that we have to practice better. I think that there's things that we have to set the tempo, and that starts with me. Of the way we practice is the way that we're going to play. And I think that looking back, I could have done a better job of through all the injuries. Doesn't mean you have to practice longer or anything, but I felt like, because of the injuries and guys standing around, we just the level of competition, even during the week of practice, has to be there to set the tone, because like how you do it through the week is how we're going to see it out on the field, whether it's the physicality and the finishing and the tackling. But our best players have to practice well. And no matter what, if it's injuries or whatever, it's got to be, we have to create a better not atmosphere, but just the competitiveness and the physicality. So there's a lot of things. I don't know if I answered your question correctly,
Yeah.
but we've got to be better in all areas. We play in a league that the national champion is going to be playing in, and 3 out of the 4 Final Four teams. So there's a level of how you have to do things. I've said this all along. Like we could be, if we played in a different league, maybe we're winning 9 or 10 games, and you get stuck in the Missouri Valley and you win 4. And that's just the way that it is, and that's not changing. And our schedule for next year is not changing, and it's challenging. And so that's the way we have to be built. I'm the head coach to make sure that we're built that way.
You brought up the schedule for next year. I know right now, as it sits, Coach Hill, 11 games. It's a 12-game season, but right now our schedule still sits at 11. Of course, right now the non-conference schedule, all of your games are on the road, still kind of searching for that extra game. We're kind of at in that process right now, is Southern, and where maybe fans can expect a full schedule to be released.
Hopefully soon. That we've got to get that game scheduled. We've got to be able to set those things, even for us on planning. But right now, as it sits, we only have 4 home games, so it's we have to get a 5th home game to start the season. If not, then we wouldn't play our first home game till October 5th, because we go at Purdue, at UT Martin, at SEMO, both teams that shared the OVC title and were playoff teams. And then we play a Big Ten school. And then we play our league. And so it's going to be another, I think we were 3rd in ranked strength of schedule this year. And so we're looking for that game. We've got to get it scheduled. It's getting tougher and tougher by the day, because most teams' schedules are out and finalized, and we don't have that game yet. And so it's a constantly daily conversation.
Coach Hill, appreciate the time. It'll be great to see you guys here at spring football in just a matter of weeks now. But appreciate the time, Coach Hill. Always great catching up with you.
All right, I appreciate it.